Hi everyone! Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm going to teach you how to make a Christmas wreath and I'm going to start foraging, so follow me. So what you want is you want to get some hardy stems, which is going to be your base of your wreath, and you'll find that these are just the dark greenery that sort of gives the depth to your arrangements, and they're quite fun and wild. It's good to go for a different variety of evergreen leaves. Ivy, buried ivy, is a really good filler, so I'm going to add that, and you can have little snips or you can have longer bits, but it's great for making your wreath quite bushy. So this is another really good evergreen. As you can see, it's dark green. It looks a little bit like pine. It's not. And it grows in so many places all over the country. And then you've also got your holly, which is obviously, you know, the traditional Christmas foliage. And it is actually so pretty to have. Some people think it's a bit old-fashioned, but actually, if you make it a bit wilder and not so compact, it's actually really pretty. Holly is also a great one for putting down the table, in between candles and tea lights, and it just really makes your arrangement. So another thing which is great is pine cones for an arrangement, and there's so many around at the moment, so try and forage and place lots of these within your wreath. Now we can start creating. So I'm going to take you through each element that you're going to need to build your wreath. So we start with the wreath wired base, which comes in 14 inches, 16 inches or 18 inch. If you don't have one, you can either make your own or order online with us. Then you've got your stub wires, which are going to be the wires that you use to wire all your fun parts like the pine cones, your dried fruits, your hydrangea heads that you've dried previously. And then you've got all your fruits. Then to build your base, we use sack moss, and we use sack moss instead of oasis as it's a lot more sustainable. It keeps all of your stems still really hydrated, and allows your stems to sort of last for 3 weeks to a month. A lot of people use oasis, but actually we really try to stick away from it, as oasis is really full of lots of microplastics which go into our seeds. And then I've also got these dried fruits and also the pine cones that we foraged for earlier. Now all these dried fruits you can either order online or you can actually try and make them yourself, although it's quite a long process. But if you've got any fun bits that you found in the garden, maybe you dried some hydrangea heads which are great to put in your wreaths, or maybe you've got some rosemary, any add-on bits that you like, add that into your decoration pile. So let's begin. So to start, what you want to do is you want to first of all attach your rail wire onto your base. I'm just going to twist that. Then you're going to get your sack moss to build the structure. And to make a really thick wreath, the bigger the sack moss base, the thicker the wreath will be. So I tend to use a lot of sack moss. But what you want to do is when you put it down, what's so important is the structure of your wreath. So when you place your sack moss down, you want to really scrunch it so that it's tight. You don't want it to be loose, otherwise everything will fall out. So tightly compact it on top. Then you want to put your reel wire around it and then bring it in tight. And again. And again. And there you just carry on building your wreath. When you get to the end, you want to tie your reel wire off. So you literally just wrap it round, and then you can either tie it onto the ring of the base, or you can just twist it round the sides. And then what you want to do is, as you can see, that seems a bit uneven. So I want to make sure that everything is as even as possible. So I just snip around, give it a bit of a haircut to make sure that everything is as even as possible. So that is my sack moss base, and now we can start for the next layer. For your second step, you want to get your foliage, and what's important with your foliage is that if you keep them at lots of different lengths, then you're going to get a really wild wreath, and if you cut all your stems at the same length, then you'll get something a bit more compact. I think today I want to go for something a bit wild and a bit exciting, so I'm going to do different length stems. As I'm cutting my foliage, I'm grouping them into sections so that when I start arranging my wreath, it will become a lot easier. For your third step, we're going to build your foliage base. With your foliage stems, you want to make sure that there's a bit of a gap here, so you don't want to have loads of foliage. You want to remove the foliage at the bottom of the stem so that it's a nice clean bottom. To start, you again get your reel wire, you twist it so that it's properly, firmly attached. Then I get my foliage, and because I've now got them into 4 piles, what you want to do is I always say, create 5 pieces for per line. So I want to have 1 piece on the outside, a holly piece, an ivy piece, which is always a good one to make your wreath look really thick. So I'm actually going to place the ivy on top in the middle. And then on your inside of your wreath, it's a little bit smaller, so you don't want to have really large bits, otherwise it will cover your middle. As you place now your 5 pieces, and I've fanned them out, so I've got 1 going out, then fanning all the way into the middle. I'm then going to get my reel wire, which is really tightly securely on, and I'm going to cover the bottom stems, which are very clean. I'm going to put it underneath, pull it tight, and then you can go on to your next stage. And you basically gradually do this the whole way round and create something a bit wild and magical. When you get to the end, you want to make sure you're not going over your first bits, because you don't want to flatten down any of your stems, but instead you want to go underneath. So this bit's always the bit which is a little bit trickier. You're sort of wiring around the stems. And there's your foliage third step, all ready to go. Your last step is the exciting one, but it's a little bit difficult. So you get all your dried fruits and your pine cones, and what you want to do is you want to get your stub wire, pierce it in the bottom, then pinch it like that, pinch at the top and twist. And then again with my dried fruits, I'm going to get pierce through at the bottom, pinch the first time, pinch the second time and twist. Make sure that you pinch quite tight so they're not moving loads around. Once you've wired all your fruits, your pine cones, even these are quite fun as well, your limes, I'm going to go for something a bit more green and natural, but you could have had your hydrangeas, you could have had pink heather, anything that you found, wire it up. A lot of people use glue, but actually, again, we want to be more sustainable, so wiring is way better, and it also lasts a lot longer. To place them on, you want to get your base over the table so that you can feel the bottom, and you place your stub wire going through the sack moss, And as you can see here, it's come through the sack moss. Then you want to twist it really tight. Twist it. And then bend it and place it into your moss. And that will make sure that it's really tight. And then when you're doing this decorating bit, it's like decorating cake. You can add whatever you want in whichever way you want. I find if you group things, so if you group your pine cones together and you group your fruits together, that's more of a tidy look. Or you could go for something a bit wilder, where everything's slightly dotted around. But if you're wanting a more luxurious style, grouping is the best way, and grouping in odd numbers. So I'm also placing in dried hydrangea heads. And these are great because it's now November. What you want to get is English garden hydrangeas and dry them for about 2 weeks, hanging upside down in an airing cupboard. And they are perfect to place in your Christmas arrangements. So here's a couple more. And to wire these, you want to, I cut them at florets. So what you want to do is you want to have almost like a little hook, like that. Pinch it, so you're pinching onto the stem. And then you twist it really tight while pinching it at the top. And then there you go. And again, you want to make sure that that hoop at the top is within the hydrangea so it keeps up nice and sturdy. And that's the final stage and my finished wreath. And as you can see, I've got my dried hydrangeas, I've got my fruits, and this final stage, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You can create it in whichever way you want. But the more dried berries and the more dried hydrangeas and heather, the more exciting the wreath becomes. And there we go. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. We have lots of products online and lots of products like this with the heather wreath. So if you're wanting anything for your homes or for us to dress it up, we are there. Thanks so much for watching.